Welcome to DOWL Team Talk. I'm Stuart Osgood, the President and CEO of DOWL. This is a series called Ask the Boss, where I'm going to answer some questions that were submitted by employees in 4 separate categories of professional development, DOWL's future, internal management, and client management. Today's session will be dedicated to talking about DOWL's future, and there'll be one personal question tossed in just to keep me on my toes. Question number 1, tell us a little bit about yourself. Well, I grew up on the East Coast on a small dairy farm. I'm the youngest of 7 children. I attended my state university, the University of Vermont, and my break in life came when I got a cooperative education job with the U.S. Army Cold Regions Lab, and 3 weeks later I was on a plane to Fairbanks, Alaska, and spent the next 2 years in Fairbanks and then on to Greenland for 3 or 4 years, and never got Alaska out of my blood, and ended up coming back here through wanderlust and just wanting to be part of Alaska and Alaska's future. I've been in Alaska for about 25 years. I have 2 sons in college, and I like to bike and fish, and I'm passionate about the company and the direction that we're headed. Do we see an upper limit to employees in the coming years? Any kind of growth cap? I think that generally speaking, the owners and the directors of the company don't necessarily gauge our success by revenue or number of employees, but are we taking on new opportunities? Are we challenging people? Certainly the revenue growth and the profitability and the number of employees all adds up to the metrics of that, but it's really a report card rather than it is being the goal. The goal is the education, the goal is the growth and the development of the firm. I guess if I was pressed to answer, do I see a growth cap, I would just say that if you look back 10 years, DOWL was a company with 3 offices at that time, almost all of our revenue in Alaska, and we were about $20 million in revenue. And today we're about 3 times that size, and we have a number of offices outside of Alaska. So if you look ahead 10 years, I think that same level of double, triple the size is probably going to be the result of us pushing ourselves. Question number 3, what percentage of DOWL's growth do we see coming through acquisitions versus other means? Again, I can look back historically and say that we've kind of set a target for ourselves that every year growing at 5 to 10%. We think that's a manageable level for us. We can maintain our quality and our relationships and grow our firm. And if we do that and we find partners that we can merge with and acquire, I'd say a 50-50 split between merger and acquisitions and organic growth is probably a balance that we would try to achieve. That may vary year to year, but I think over the long term, we need to be doing both organic growth as well as mergers and acquisitions. What percentage of DOWL's growth do you see happening in Alaska versus the lower 48? For as long as I've been at DOWL, we've often talked about how big the company could get if it stayed in Alaska, and then of course we've expanded outside, and we're now divided about 50-50 between the lower 48 states and Alaska. I think the trend is certainly toward us providing our services at a greater rate in the lower 48 states. We're still bullish about Alaska, but of course there's only 600,000 people here, and the need for the services that we offer must be capped at some amount. So I would say that the lion's share of the growth will occur internationally and in other areas of North America, although I don't feel like we've capped out our influences in Alaska at this time. What is DOWL doing to position itself for changes to the economy and market in the coming years? Well, I think we have a strategic plan that we adhere to and try to implement and try to think strategically about where's the world going, how do we prepare ourselves to take advantage of that. There's also an issue of you need to be nimble and be able to be tactical at taking advantages that present themselves, because we never really know what the world is going to offer to us. So being financially strong, being diversified, and being nimble and recognizing changes in the market is very important. For instance, last year at this time, we were sitting around with oil at $110 a barrel, and now it's sub 50. Nobody really foresaw that coming, or at least if they did, they didn't tell anybody about it. Those are some of the adjustments that the world offers that we need to be able to take advantage of and make course corrections. What is your vision for Seattle and the Northwest area? Our last strategic plan, the owners were in Helena, Montana, and we took a look at our map of services and where we offered services. And there's a big, important economic driver there in that Cascadia region of Seattle, Portland, Vancouver, and it's kind of the centroid of our activities, but we had a very modest footprint there, have a very modest presence there. So the owners really focused in on having us look to grow our presence in the Seattle, Portland, Boise, Vancouver area, and we're taking steps to do that, some organically, some through mergers and acquisitions. It's an exciting area. It has some companies there that have changed the world, whether it be Boeing or Starbucks or Nordstrom's or Microsoft or Amazon now. There's a lot of things happening, and we need to be part of that. Just like we're part of all the exciting things that happen in Alaska and Montana and other places. So the vision there is to create a real economic hub for us, a real hub of services, so that we are a player in that market. And I'm certain we'll get there, again, through organic and M&A means. Once we've conquered the mining practice field, what other fields do you see DOWL entering? We're about 18 months into our investment in the mining practice area. We've made some big investments there. We've also, I think, made a lot of progress. We've got some world-class talent that works for us now. We're starting to get traction in the mining area. There still certainly are things to be done, but I think we've done a tremendous job at kicking that thing off and getting it rolling. The energy sector and utilities is certainly an area that I think we need to look to. We don't do very much work in the energy sector, and we don't do very much for large utility companies like Bonneville and Pacific Gas and Electric and other big groups that have a lot of work that we could certainly help with, whether it's transmission and distribution lines or generation facilities. The other thing I would just say is I think there's opportunities for us to upstream integrate and downstream integrate in the civil engineering field. And by that I mean upstream integration is kind of getting involved earlier and earlier in the project process, maybe at the idea stage, identifying a need, working with developers, and not just waiting for those projects to start engineering, but upstream integrating. And then we want to downstream integrate also into construction. And so that's why you see us putting a movement into some of the work that we're doing in construction administration and materials testing and inspection. So I think the days of us looking at ourselves as designers is gone, and we need to look at ourselves as deliverers of projects, and maybe even idea guys that are actually coming up with projects. Well, that concludes this session. I want to thank you all for joining us. We have two other Ask the Boss sessions coming up, one on internal management and the other one on client management. If you have ideas on future topics that should be discussed, please send them to info@dowll.com. Thank you.